uh, he's frozen. Steve, if you don't want to do the audio, a video, you could just do audio if that'll help. But I could see. All right, everybody.
Yeah,
It
no
is.
problem. Kirk, I apologize.
Oh,
No,
no
no,
problem.
If you can hear.
no, don't worry about it. We'll believe me. Um, all right, everybody. It is 8:01, and we are here live on Animal House Radio, and we have a very, very special guest for you. Um, lately, we've been doing a lot of the blues artists, and I tell you what, I was a fan, but now I'm a super fan, and we have a one of the legendary guys joining us all the way from the land of Swiss cheese and cuckoo clocks, and he's got a new album out called My Blues Pathway. It's going to be released September 28th. Please welcome for the first time. What? Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. Steve, are you there? Yeah. All right, everybody. Please welcome for the first time on Animal House Radio, Mr. Kirk Fletcher.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Kirk, thank you so much. I know it's like 1/4 to dead in the morning. And what time is it in Switzerland?
It's 2:02 a.m.
Oh my God. Well, I appreciated you're staying up late for us. I know we're not the late show, but
Hey, it's all good.
I mean, I studied up on you. As a matter of fact, we did Shirley King last month,
Oh, cool.
and she was a trip. She was a trip without the luggage. Let me tell you, okay. And you recently you collaborated on her album, didn't you? Recently?
Yeah, the record company hooked us up for me to play on the track of her record, and that was a lot of fun. I always like recording on people's records, kind of my creative side, just playing guitar and figuring out what'll work for them.
Yeah, and this morning at 12 o'clock. Well, actually, it's, 3 o'clock will be 12 o'clock L.A. time. We had Bill Shatner on, and he's promoting his Blue album, and you were on that record too. So, what was it like doing an album with Captain Kirk?
Oh man, it was just like I recorded my guitar and I just tried to convey what he was expressing, with his vocals. I just tried to give it like this sort of quirky element to it, and try and make it, like really try and call in response with what he was saying, or singing.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun and it's nice to be put in those kind of situations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I, right before the interview, I didn't get a chance to listen to the album all week, Shatner's album, but it was a little different than what I expected. But it was pretty cool. It was kind of soothing because he's not really into carrying a tune. It's more of the spoken word type of thing,
Yeah.
and it was a different take. But nonetheless, it was a great album. But that being said, let me ask you, Kirk. I live in the Northeast. I didn't get a lot of exposure to blues
Yeah.
in New York, New Jersey,
Hmm.
unless you heard something or somebody was in the area playing. And I've noticed, and I know it's always been around. I noticed
Hmm.
that past maybe 5 or 10 years, there's been like a resurgence of the blues. A lot more artists are covering blues. A lot more artists are doing blues. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's hard to shake it because it's such a big foundation in a lot of American music. That's the thing. It's like when you think of rock and roll and all of these different things, I know it's pretty at this point cliche to say, but I just think the foundation, you got a man or a woman with some kind of a guitar or a piano or something like that, and you telling about, a story, that way it's similar to, like country music or something like that. But it's just the foundation of all of this music, a lot of American music, so I think it always comes back around in some shape, form, or fashion.
And,
So,
and I think the biggest misconception at the blues is not all blues is down. There's a lot of
oh,
upbeat
definitely
blues.
not.
I think that a lot of people, they think I left my woman left me, that
Yeah,
but it's so
yeah.
much more than that.
I think that some people will like be surprised to even think, like I hear blues everywhere and I hear it in a lot of music and they're like, man, that's not really blues because a lot of people think blues is just da 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 or
Right,
whatever,
right,
but
right.
it's in many different shapes and forms. I mean, think about rhythm and blues,
Right,
R&B. I mean,
right.
that's rhythm and blues. It's a little rhythm and that gospel influence mixed with blues.
Oh, absolutely. And I grew up listening to like rock and roll and hard rock and heavy metal, but I
Yeah.
still, I think I found a new appreciation for blues after talking to so many artists and actually having the time to sit down and listen to the music because I think it's the most passionate genre because it comes from some place that you can't even describe where it comes because it comes from inside. It comes from the soul, and I think that's where the best music comes from.
Yeah, for me growing up in the 80s, being a kid, in the 80s, I listened to a lot of rock music and heavy metal and stuff because that's what was on MTV, So
Right, right.
it's like, I'm not one of those guys that worry too much about, different genres and stuff. I just like what I like and I put my own spin on it. But, if you like metal or if you like funk or you like whatever, that's fine for me. I think we can all, have a good chat about what we love and, it's all good.
Absolutely. Well, blues wise, who were you influenced by? I mean, I know you cite a lot of you give credit to a lot of people on the album, and you said,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, you said on the album that it's important that you cover certain songs.
Yeah, well, a lot of people influence me in with this record. I really thought about, like what kind of, like the records that I listen to, like by BB King or Albert King or Bobby Bland. I would pick up things like they would cover certain records. They would cover certain songs by other artists that may be older. Like maybe BB King would do like a song that was originally by Muddy Waters or
Howlin'
Ron
Wolf.
Johnson or something like that. Yeah.
I love
And he
Howlin'
would
Wolf.
do it, me too. And
Yeah.
he would do a cover, of that. And so I wanted to try and keep that lineage going as well as add my own personal originals to it too. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Now, when it comes to the, um, I can imagine when an artist has to write a song, it's always a task. How much harder is it to write the blues because it's got to come from a certain place? It's just not a matter of putting lyrics down on a piece of paper, or this has got to come from somewhere. Where do you draw your inspiration from when you do your writing?
Well, it's many different ways, but on this particular album, I just tried to, like I had already written a record before, Hold On. And on this record, I just kind of, would get phrases that I've just accumulated over time, like little things like ain't no cure for the downhearted, but just that word, downhearted.
Right.
It's just like, man, that's sort of like an old school word that people would say. And I always look for like these connections between old and new, sort of.
Well, that sounds like a word you would hear in a Motown song.
Yeah, like what becomes of the brokenhearted?
Yeah, so that's why it made me think of that. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
now with the album out, was this album done pre-COVID or this was done during the
Oh no,
quarantine?
pre-COVID, I just got it in just under the wire. We
Oh
mixed
wow.
it when everything was starting to shut down. Well, I didn't mix it. My friend Alan Hertz mixed it.
Now with the, I don't know, in Switzerland, I can't imagine how are you handling this quarantine? Is it bad in Switzerland? Because I really didn't, you never hear anything about Switzerland. They're always neutral.
Yeah, I know, right? They are neutral. Um, it opened up, things opened up, faster. And, in Europe, it's like some places are still closed, some places are open. It's just all over the board
Sporadic,
because
yeah.
each individual place over here is,
Yeah.
different. They got their own rules and things. So here it was handled in a pretty, Switzerland usually handles things in a pretty, well-oiled way.
Right, right. Wow. How did you like with the downtime? I know you're used to, I can imagine all performers are used to being out on the road. How did you handle having the downtime? And, that being said, with the downtime, did it spark a lot of creativity on your part that you had all this time now?
No. I mean, I completely like lost my mind. I mean, like I completely, just like I'm a blues guy. I've always had ups and downs and everything like that. And
Right.
like I felt right before all this happened, I was just starting to kind of, get a little traction and things like that and do some more gigs and stuff in the States. I had some gigs booked in the States and everything.
A lot of
And
stuff
it
got
took,
canceled, or
yeah, everything got canceled. It took me about 3 months of not dark depression or anything, but just
right.
like feeling sorry for myself, kind of,
Yeah, like a fish
because
out of water. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't really know what to do, and I'm not really a creative person when I'm that, like, oh man, what's gonna happen,
Right.
what's
Right.
gonna, go on. But then, it was long enough to where it was like I could kind of resort back to things that I done when I was a young man, like listen to records, read
Right.
books, drink coffee, do my thing, and like then I realized, man, I better try and get my social media together, but not
Right.
social media like trying to sell something, but more like in a way like I would do, like more tell stories or make guitar videos and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
get
or
the
just
exposure
ideas.
out there. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
just for fun, kind of. And then it kind of turned into, people really needing something like that, I feel, and they had great comments, and I'm kind of coming out the other side of it now, and I'm feeling a little better. And then the album, I'm doing interviews and stuff, so it's
And
a
you're
slow
keeping yourself
process.
occupied. That's the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now with the next album that comes out, which after this is there got to you got to put a song on there called "I Got the Quarantine Blues." I'm surprised we haven't seen a song like that yet.
Oh,
I guarantee.
I think there are some. I think there are some. And that's the thing because like I think that's one of the things with blues. There's a lot of blues, like weird blues songs, like
Yeah.
I think there's like maybe this clever thing like Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson, a lot of those guys would do where they would have like these innuendos and all of this like kind of clever stuff, and I think sometimes that's missing now, So I want to try, maybe I'll quarantine will be something else. Maybe I'll call it something else, but it'll mean quarantine or something, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Did did you? I mean, you were if as far as your blues style, who would you liken yourself to like from your predecessors?
Yeah, that would be a difficult question actually, because that's the thing. It's like, yes, I love everybody. BB King is like one of my all-time favorites. Albert King, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Otis Rush, all of these people. But the thing that's different is the time. Like you had people, like for me, I grew up in church. I grew up playing in my father's church.
Oh
Okay,
wow.
that's pretty common. But then I played all of this like funk and R&B music as well as playing in blues bands and doing all that growing up. And then I decided to throw all of that away and only play blues for a long time. And then I played with an Italian pop artist for a while. So then, all of these different things. And a lot of my friends are really fantastic jazz musicians and things like that. So all of that kind of rubs off on you. And then hanging around with songwriters and being influenced by people like Joni Mitchell and stuff like that
Oh
make
wow.
my story a little different. So it's not just, I can't say that I'm, patterned after somebody per se, just, like one artist. Give me one artist that you're patterned after. But I would definitely say my blues influences, a lot of BB King, Albert King, and Robert Cray, and,
Yeah.
so many people,
When we interviewed Shirley, and now BB King was a legend, and he was somebody I would have liked to interview. And she said she used to told me the funny story that he was nothing but a big hoochie mama. It was so funny coming from his own daughter saying that, but she was keeping it real, and that was the fun. And she was okay
Yeah,
with it. It was what it was, but that's what made the interview fun. Now,
yeah,
Kurt, let me
yeah.
ask you. You said you were spent a lot of time in the church. That means your parents were very religious and stuff. Were they
Yeah.
when you told them, listen, I want to, this is what I want to do for a living? Did they give you a little say, oh no, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be a doctor?
Well, my well, actually, I had already had a whole gospel career playing gospel music and stuff before I was probably 19 or 20 by the time I started like going full on blues, so I had already played from like probably 13, 12, 13 gospel all the way up until then.
Oh wow.
So it was maybe even 21, somewhere around there. So I had a good little while of doing that, and pretty much all while I lived at home and everything, I was playing gospel. But they weren't, at first they would have been really weird, but they just lightened up. The older, they got, the more they lightened up. And it was just, they saw that I was playing with, notable artists like Charlie Musselwhite and Kim Wilson
Right,
and
you
T.
had real talent. It wasn't like it wasn't like
Yeah.
a pipe dream.
Yeah. So they kind of loosened up.
It's funny. Besides, being exposed to the blues the past 5 years, when I was younger, like when I told you, I grew up in the 80s, like you said,
Yeah.
MTV era and stuff, and I listened to rock and roll, but I had an affinity for 70s music. Like, and I don't know if you consider this gospel or maybe R&B. I loved the Mighty Clouds of Joy. I don't know if you
Oh, that was
remember
one of
that.
my favorite groups of all time.
Yeah, they had this song, Ride the Mighty High. When I wasn't
Oh,
around my
yeah.
friends, I would crank that bitch in my car, and
Yeah.
the OJs, Put Your Hands Together, and
Yeah.
Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Oh my
Yeah.
God, they'll never make music like that again. As much as I
Yeah.
love my rock and roll, but I love that stuff so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that song "Ride the Mighty High" by the Clouds of Joy. I mean, I listened to that a lot myself.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you consider that gospel or R&B, but that was I just love the energy of that song.
Yeah, I think it's a good fusion, between the two, like rhythm and blues and gospel together. That's what I really love. I like combining things like that together.
Yeah. So how long did it take you once you started the album to bring it to completion? Was it a
Well,
long process
recording
or?
the basic tracks were all recorded in 6 days over a 2 week period.
Oh
So we
wow.
went in a couple times here and there over that 2 weeks, and just, it was very, very easy because, a lot of one of the drummers on there, I've been playing with off and on for 25 years. So, it's not much talking needed, with a guy like that you've known that long, and all of the guys I've known for over 10, 15 years. So it was, really easy.
It was just like a jam session, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. We had one of our listeners is a big fan of the show, is one of our biggest supporters. His name is Michael Lepowski.
Right.
And he says, they say the blues is the devil's favorite music. Did you ever hear that expression?
I've heard that the blues is the devil's music.
Where did they
I mean,
ever come up with that expression, though?
well, but that's that's combined with the blues a lot. That's been, for many, 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 many decades and years they've associated with blues with bad, and devil's music and gospel music is good music. And to me, like what I told my mom, my dear mom, rest her soul, I told her, this is the same thing as gospel. It's just stories. It's just talking about stories. And one is talking about how God or whatever you believe saved your soul, and the other is talking about stories about life.
Right.
So what's the deal? It's music.
Yeah, I
And she
mean, it
was
comes
like,
from the
wow.
soul. How could it be? You know what I'm saying? I don't know how
Yeah.
they would ever equate that. It
Yeah.
just
But
boggles
they
my.
said that a lot about heavy metal and stuff too.
Well, you want to laugh?
Satanic
There was an article. I did an interview with Dee Schneider from Twisted Sister, and he
yeah.
said they did an article on Psychology Today, and it was so funny. He said, um, because of the high energy of heavy metal and the it invokes you to let it all out in a good way. He
Hmm.
said some heavy metal listeners are some of the most well-adjusted people on the
Hmm.
planet because they don't have nothing bottled in there. They let it all out. if that makes
Yeah.
sense. But it struck me funny that he said that because, there's always the assumption that they're all, this or that, and everybody, they get stereotyped.
Yeah, I mean, like heavy metal music, when you think about Motorhead or, Dio or somebody like that, you're like, I'm sure after you leave a concert from, those bands, you'd be like, ah! You would leave it at the concert, any problems or anything, because it's
Right,
just,
right.
a pure emotion.
Absolutely. It's funny. This morning I was and I don't know if this is just it's got to be coincidence. I was channel surfing and I came across the movie Crossroads with Ralph
Yeah,
Macchio.
yeah, one of my favorite movies of all time.
I haven't seen that in a long time and I really enjoyed that because that was like a tribute to the blues.
Yeah,
It's and see right now, Kirk, I think blues music, whether even if it's the down stuff or it's the upbeat stuff, we need music now more than ever, especially during this quarantine because
yeah.
too many people are watching the news and it's just too depressing. And I'll tell you, I watch the news for like 10 minutes, I get the bullet points, and then I'm out. Other than that, I'm listening to uplifting music. I'm watching
Yeah,
Everybody Loves Raymond, Sanford. It's anything to keep myself, laughing and in good spirits.
yeah,
Because if you don't, you watch TV, you'll get depressed in a heartbeat,
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
you know. Um, that being said, how did you wind up in Switzerland? I think that's so fascinating.
I fell in love with a woman.
Oh, isn't that always the way?
It's always the way. Plus, too, musically, I was playing in Europe a lot. So it kind of, if I was only playing in the States, it would be a little bit, probably a big task to move a long way, far away. But since I was already playing so much and I lived, when I was playing with the Italian pop artist Eros Ramazzotti, I lived in Italy pretty much for a year. So I
Wh-
kind of,
wh- Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me now? I'm a Sicilian from Newark, New Jersey, and I don't speak. I'm not fluent, but my girl is fluent, and that's one of her. You mean to tell me you played with Eros?
yeah.
Oh my God! How long did you tour with him, or would you
I
did an
toured with
album?
him for about a year.
Oh my God! What was that
Yeah, I
like? That
think it
had to
was
be
like
a unique experience, right?
2013 or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it
That
was fantastic. I mean, it was,
at least the
great.
food was good during the tour.
I'll say.
Oh boy! So
Yeah.
the album is going to come out on September 28th, and it's on
No,
Cleopatra
September
Records.
25th.
Yeah. What is it?
September 25th.
Oh, September 25th. Okay, I thought it was all right. I gotta, I gotta make sure. September 25th. It's going to be released on Cleopatra Records, and just like we told you this morning, if you wanted Bill Shatner's album or Kirk Fletcher, you go to www.cleorecs.com and definitely pick up these albums. Kirk, let me ask you, what this for somebody who's a fan of the blues as opposed to somebody who's just listening to it for the first time, what do you want people to take away from this album when they listen to it?
That you don't have to be a blues fan to dig the record or blues in general, and maybe listen to some other stuff besides just one part. I want everybody to be able to listen to it. And, just like a lot of my heroes like Robert Cray, Stevie Ray Vaughan, from the 80s, I mean, those guys were on MTV. The
Yeah.
Fabulous Thunderbirds, a lot of those bands were on MTV. So I just want to make it a little bit more accessible, as well as keeping,
The
the
traditional
heart of
roots.
what
Yeah.
it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's so great. I I have so much respect for the music artists, and we did a interview with, and it's a shame that you guys are. I feel bad for everybody. Even comics, myself,
Mhm.
we're all stuck home. Everybody loves to perform it, and it's to me. I know I shouldn't say this, but I've written this year off. I'm just riding it out now and hoping we can recoup
Mhm.
that. But I can imagine you're anxious to get back out on the road.
Yeah, I mean, like I here in Switzerland, there are a couple shows here and there in like Italy, just small little shows and stuff, and I'm happy to do them just to get out of the house. So there's a couple on the horizon, and maybe in France a couple. But I'm just thanking my lucky stars that I have that, and in a way, to be honest, I've kind of accepted all this.
Yeah.
Like I've accepted that it's weird, and I just, because being a blues guy and like having the ups and downs of a career, I mean, nothing really phases me too much, to be honest. I mean,
Right. At this point,
I've
right?
had real bad times, so
Yeah.
it's like all a part of it.
And how much worse could it get, Rich, right?
Yeah, I just accept it.
When you do your gigs, are they usually larger gigs or they're more intimate? Because I think
Oh,
the
that's
more
the fun thing. They're
yeah,
all over the place.
yeah,
I
because
might play, like a place that holds 300 people, or I might play a place that holds 1,500, or I might play a big festival. I mean, I like variety. I like the small clubs. I like the festivals. I like the larger clubs, the theaters. It just, you never can tell. You
yeah.
just, as long as they have their act together and it's run well and I get my compensation, it's all good.
Yeah. You know what amazes me the most about uh, blues and even like people that I grew up listening to in the 80s. I've been going to concerts all my life, but I noticed in the past 5 or 10 years that, like, for example, we went to go see Def Leppard, and
Oh, nice.
you know, you see the people who grew up listening to it, but then you see 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds in
Yeah,
the audience. Do you
that's
do, do you get that a lot with blues artists? Like they don't the blues to them is a color in their crayon box. You know what I'm saying?
well, for me, yeah, I'm fortunate because I have a association with different artists like Joe Bonamassa, and then there's this whole guitar community too. And guitar community is way bigger than the blues, I think. I mean, there's so many aspiring guitar players and kids growing up. So they might see an Instagram post or Facebook, or some of my other friends might mention my name or something like that. So you kind of do see the younger guys coming with their girlfriends and stuff. So I'm really fortunate about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to make you feel good that you're transcending generations, though,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Steve Keller, who was supposed to be in on the call, but he's having internet trouble. He's asking a few questions. He said, I noticed that No Place to Go was the perfect track to feature in a video.
Ah, yeah, no place to go. I mean, because to me, that was sort of maybe one of my more catchy tunes from the record. And I don't want to just come out and do like a regular, just I didn't. I wanted the first thing to be something that may be catchy to more than just the diehard blues fans. I kind
Right,
of
right.
wanted to make people think and try and have a song with the lyrics and things like that. And then I always like these videos, like some of these more modern bands, younger bands do these videos with like stock footage and stuff. So I just thought that would be a good choice.
Well, I could tell you right now from what I've listened to, definitely mission accomplished on that.
Oh,
Yeah, on
thank
the
you,
whole
sir.
album. Steve wanted me, he said, I also noticed that it was the second track on the album. The labels used to put the hit in that slot. Do you think this formula still works?
Honestly, I don't really think it does because, well, the thing is, like most people, when you think about it, they're listening to this music not on album form. They're listening to it on Spotify or some kind of other streaming service.
Right.
And most people's attention span these days, especially younger people, it ain't that long.
Oh, yeah,
So you
absolutely.
have to
Yeah.
hit them with whatever impactful thing you have right out of the gate.
You got to
First
give them the
song
wow
got to be
factor.
like,
Yeah.
boom, because you might get 5 seconds, 6 seconds, and if you don't hit them, then they're going to go on to the next thing. So I definitely kept that in mind. I definitely wanted to hit them with, Ain't No Cure for the Downhearted. And then if they listen a little, if they like that, then they'll listen to the next song where I'm talking to them a little bit. And I kind of paced it more like,
And they'll
okay,
definitely get hooked once and that's how you
yeah,
reel them in, reel
they
them
can
in.
select tracks. I mean, album guy, and I love albums. And yeah, a lot of records I have do that. But these days, it's definitely a stream type thing. I think, you know.
Yeah, it's a little different than the traditional record companies like you used to
Yeah.
have. And the whole, I mean, I guess, technology, everything has to change and you have to evolve with it. But, one thing I always say, especially when I'm talking to musicians, it's always funny how um, before the internet, before everything, if you had a band who had a hit record, say they had to um, uh, uh, sell records to tour.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to tour to sell records. It's
Records.
like flip flopped, and that boggled. Eddie Trunk said that to me a long time ago in an interview, and it just boggled my mind because it's really so true. Because if you think about it, there's really no tradition like that with the A&R guy and the record companies. That seems to be a thing of the past. Now it's all YouTube, but that's what's everybody watching. So I guess you got to evolve with. You got to go with the flow, Kirk.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, for blues guys, it's always been sort of tour to, support everything. But now it's like everybody.
Yeah, right.
It's
They're
pretty,
copycats off of you guys.
yeah.
But Kirk, I know it's late, and but I want to thank you so much. The album,
It's my pleasure.
it's called My Blues Pathway. September 25th, it's going to come out. You can pre-order it on Cleopatra Records at www.mycleorecs.com. Pick up this album and just it'll mellow you out. It'll uplift you. It'll make you feel good. I'm just getting sleepy just from listening to his voice because it's so soothing. But I just want you to know, Kirk, that your music and as well as all the other musical artists that perform, our show goes out to American Forces Network. So it means all our servicemen and women around the world
Yeah,
listen. And I just want you to know that, and I know I can speak for them, that the music is going places that the medicine can't, and music is universal. And believe me,
absolutely.
if I can make a difference, or if you can make a difference with your music for an hour, because these people are in most of not all of them, but some of them are in places where the bottom can drop out at any minute. So if
Yeah,
they can get that half hour of music and to just the escape, and it makes them feel good, then I think it's all worth it.
absolutely. Yeah.
But once again, thanks so much, guys. Please pick up Kirk Fletcher's new album. I definitely recommend it. You're gonna like it. This guy is a super. We're gonna see. You're definitely. If you haven't gotten in there, don't quote me on this, but I don't know if you got in there right. But you're definitely a Hall of Famer.
No, not yet, but hey, let's speak it into existence.
And there you go. I'm gonna cast my ballot now. Maybe I'll call the Russians and they'll fix the election for you. You'll get voted in. Kirk, God bless. Stay safe and
Thank you so
consider
much.
yourself a friend of the show. Um,
You.
Before we let you go, do me one
Sure,
quick favor.
sure,
Would you do a station liner for us?
sure. If I can remember it,
Yeah, well, it's very simple. You're
okay.
just going to introduce yourself and say you're listening to Animal House Radio.
Hey, this is Kurt Fletcher, and you're listening to Animal House Radio.
Look at that, huh? One take. Tell me this guy ain't a professional. Kirk, thank you so much for getting up for us, and stay safe and God bless. And listen, if you come to the States, please let John Lappa know. I'd love to come out and see you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely be back to the States.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You got it.
All righty.
All right, that was Kirk Fletcher. Very good. I like the album a lot. I thought it was pretty cool. So guys, definitely worth checking that out. And I'm glad he was in Switzerland, so that means it was like 2 or 3 in the morning there for him. So I appreciate that he uh he got up for us. And I apologize on behalf of Killer Keller. He's having some internet issues, so he my quintessential wingman couldn't be with me tonight. He is the bigger music aficionado, and as well as the encyclopedia. I know a little bit, but Steve, where I end, he picks up. So, and that's why I like it. I know some, so I can hold my own. Don't get me wrong, but Steve comes up with these questions in the interview. I'm like, wow, how did he know that? And He got a good Who story out of Leslie West the other day, so that was pretty interesting. But once again, guys, thank you. I hope you enjoyed Russell Hitchcock earlier today from Air Supply. If you haven't caught that, check it out on our page. William Shatner, as you know, unfortunately, it's always going to be a short, quick interview with Bill Shatner, but at least we got him. And I hope you enjoy that. And I hope you enjoyed this one. And we'll see you all tomorrow night, 7 p.m. live, when Antonio Sabato Jr. is back on the show. Back by popular demand. He's going to be promoting his new book out. So we're going to have a lot of fun with him. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. And we'll see you all next